Okay, we're recording.
Hi, Ray.
Okay, it being the evening of Wednesday, April 26th, and a quorum being present, I'll call the meeting of the Bellingham Conservation Commission to order pursuant to Governor Healy's signing of Bill H 3548, an act related to extended certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and is extended by the state legislature in March of 2023. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will meet utilizing the Zoom online option. Instructions and invitations are available at the town hall website, www.bellinghamma.org. In the event of technological difficulties, remote access is not guaranteed and the commission cannot be held responsible. Moving forward in this meeting, the chair instructs the meeting administrator to withhold access to speak at the meeting until or unless such persons requesting to speak are visible on screen, and respectfully request such access.
Yeah, Vince. Yeah, that's fine. And this Steve.
Therefore, we will commence with the first continuation of the evening. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposed construction of a single-family subdivision roadway and appurtenances, including stormwater management system to support a 6-lot residential subdivision entitled Snet Trail Estates, located within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated and isolated vegetated wetlands at Assessor's Map 80, Parcel 9-1, 0 Railroad Street, Bellingham. Dan Merrickin, Legacy Engineering, Millis, Mass, has submitted the filing on behalf of Michael Burr, Lake Street, Bellingham. The continuations will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, April 26th at 7. Hi, Dan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Could I share my screen, please?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, just an update. I know you guys talked about this at your last meeting, but I was not there. Over the last month or so, 2 site visits were conducted by the commission, as you know, resulting in some changes to wetlands delineations. This plan doesn't reflect it, but in the small isolated wetland out front, there was a small expansion, which hasn't really changed anything. There was a minor flag change down here, which doesn't really affect anything. The bigger change was that between the upper wetland area, which was observed at the last site walk to be a vernal pool, so it would be a local bylaw vernal pool because it has not been certified yet. A wetland was identified, basically resulting from periodic and intermittent overflows from this upper wetland down through a valley area that extends down through this way, and which results in kind of shallow ponding, shallow puddling, and some wetland vegetation. So that was reflagged by our botanist, and it was inspected by the commission 2 weeks ago, I think. So we've had those field located, and this is that boundary that the commission observed. There you can see it's basically a thin wetland area that goes down right along the valley here, and then it widens out. This was the old end of the wetland. It widens out that wetland area down at the end. So we are working on a revision to the design. This is the submitted plan with that new wetland area shown. So there is now a crossing of the road through the wetland. So we're working on, we'll provide a revised notice of intent, reflecting that fact that there will now be a proposed wetland alteration with a restoration area. And the restoration area will be located, this area down through here is an old cart path. And we walked it with the commission at the last site visit, and it looks like a good place for a wetland replication area. So we'll be proposing in the vicinity of flag 209 to 203, a wetland replication area here. And basically will fall within the footprint of that old cart path. So I think that'll be a nice area to do some replication. And then we are going to realign the road to take this cul-de-sac and pull it further away from the wetland area so that this lot and the house and the yard will be able to be further away from the wetland areas. And there'll be a small, probably modification of the stormwater basin design. So we're working on all that. I don't have anything to show you on that yet. We're going to need, I would say, a month to get that revised design squared away so that I can submit that to you with an updated subdivision plan, stormwater report, and notice of intent.
Well, that is certainly the drill. Dan, that's in a nutshell exactly what's occurred in the last two site inspections. I will just say that the area that you're proposing for replication, we did some preliminary field evaluations by hand auger and found that immediately adjacent to that cart path, there were hydric soils, and that once you got through the area that had been historically filled, there was an area of original A horizon there, which was hydric. And so the commission concurs that that's an ideal place for restoration. And I think that's pretty much everything that's occurred thus far. We are pleased that we're going to proceed with the certification of the vernal pool, as is our policy. We always try to identify these resource areas, for the future. And that's a service we really appreciate. Are there any other questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question.
Mike?
The replication area, Dan, do you know what the ratio is going to be? Is it going to be 2-to-1 replication for the area that's being impacted?
It will be 2-to-1, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I'm all set. Thank you.
Steve?
No, Mr. Chairman, I concur that the area looked promising, that we explored along the old cart path, and that the redefinition of that wetland from the vernal pool heading north there makes sense.
Okay.
Pushing the road, the cul-de-sac towards the vernal pool buffer. I've seen this. It says vernal pool buffer right just below where the mouse, right there. You're talking, Dan, about pushing the whole cul-de-sac, like curving it slightly so the loop is there. Wouldn't that house and that property that's going to be developed, lot 4, now be closer to the vernal pool too, or is it just going to shorten their front yard?
Well, so lot 4 extends all the way up into here. So there's actually a lot of room on lot 4 for the house. And we're not
Okay, I
gonna
wasn't
have
sure what
sep-
other areas might be like depressed area or wetlands,
No, this is a big hill, and this is a big hill. And this is the old cart path that leads down to the river. So there's lots of room, upland areas for lot 4. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of transition this cul-de-sac kind of out into this territory. It'll open up room over here, and then this house will kind of probably slide back into this territory.
Gotcha, okay, so it's not impacting full vernal pool buffer, great, okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? All right. We have only one meeting in May because the commission is obligated to attend the annual town meeting, which always occurs on the second Wednesday of May. I don't know why it's always on one of our meeting nights, but it always is. And so What we'll do, and knowing that the applicant will need some time to complete these revisions, we'd like to continue this to the evening of Wednesday, June 14th at 7:30,
Okay,
which is our first meeting in Wednesday. I mean, first meeting on Wednesday, first meeting in June.
okay.
So moved.
June.
That's Michael. Is there a second?
Second,
Neil, any further discussion? Now, what I'll do is I will do this as a roll call vote. All in favor? Noel,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Neil,
aye.
Brian. Brian,
He's muted.
yeah.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Ariane,
I did say aye, but
nobody heard you. I heard
I wasn't muted though.
Michael.
I know, he's-
What's that doing?
Once again, aye.
Michael.
It's okay, and Steve.
Aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Mm.
Dane, if you have any questions, need anything from us, please give our administrator a call.
I will do that. Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
All right. Okay, we have a moment before the next continuation. I'd like to talk about the minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes that have been distributed. Wednesday, March 8th, Wednesday, March 22nd, and Wednesday, April 12th. Do we have any comments on the minutes? Were you pointing at someone there, Neil?
Well, he's down there on my screen.
Oh, were you pointing to Michael?
Yeah,
I'm right here on my screen. How about that? I just forwarded to Ann a couple of little things. I do have a general question about one of them. 1 second, let me call it up there. Okay, a general comment, Mr. Chair. I think that the usual caveat that we put the beginning meeting location via Zoom pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
I think it's time we probably, I think can, because I saw it written down somewhere, but I don't remember where I saw it. Or I would have attached
that's
it.
correct. It's on the beginning of each of them, Michael.
Right, but what I'm saying is, can it be updated now to the 20, because they've extended it for another 3 years, so.
Absolutely,
I just thought
absolutely.
that might be good.
Yeah,
And we read that as part of the opening
Right, all
every
right,
hearing.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
missed
So
that.
No problem. I just thought, since I had just seen it somewhere else, I was like, oh, we probably ought to put that at the heading bars. On the agenda, I would just suggest, unless they've really scaled back the warehouse by Hartford Ave behind Home Depot, that we check the square footage. I think it says 7,0. It's like 7,000, but with 1 comment.
Oh, yes, I see what you're talking about.
Not a big deal, but if they want to scale it back, or if they don't accept it after 3 hearings, doesn't it automatically work that size? Some rule like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, let me see, the 8th, minutes of the 8th, which will go on that particular location, so let's see, this is page number. So on the 8th, let's look at page 3, this is the Hartford Ave, 217 Hartford Ave warehouse, 700,000 square foot. The third paragraph, Mr. Turner said that for a sidewalk on Saturdays, they should all spend some time on the northern piece of the property, most proximate to Home Depot. And then this is the part that I just wasn't clear, maybe we want to state it differently, I don't know. Because right now, the commission's position is the satellite parking, comma, which either may not be necessary and / or may not be appropriate. So I'm not. I know what we were talking about.
Yeah,
We had a position that the satellite parking might not be necessary and or appropriate. And maybe.
there needs to be an addition in that area. So what it should say is, because right now, the commission position is that the satellite parking to the south
Yeah.
and strike that.
May.
May not be necessary and or may not be appropriate.
Okay, I just thought I kind of know what we wanted to say, but I didn't know how you could want to say. That's cool. Page 5. This is regarding the Maple Street to Medway Town Line NEP refurbishment.
Wait
I
a
was
minute.
struck-
Yep.
So I was struck by, this is the third paragraph, right near the end of it. It says, there was an area that had amphibian migration. I'd never seen this before in a Concom minutes, in which a stone fort was installed to keep the hydrology and main access to their habitat. They can use it for protection, I assume, too. I don't know what a stone fort is. I must have missed that.
It's interesting. It was actually a term that was discussed in the field.
Yeah,
And what it was an area of slightly elevated stones with large enough gaps to provide water to pass through. And the term that was used was stone fort.
yeah, no,
Maybe it'll start showing up like Thalwig.
yeah, I think so. I wait for the proper Scrabble opportunity to throw that one in there, that way, and have everybody kick me out of the room.
That's
Then
2
last-
words for Scrabble, stone and fort.
Yeah, that's true. Page 6, third paragraph up on the bottom, or third section up on the bottom, Mr. Petrosi's asking about preparing to fund the peer review account. And he said in this last sentence, he would instead prefer to go before DEP or someone that is not impartial and objective to review the information. And he feels BSC group commissions consultant blah blah have not exercised their discretion in the proper manner. So I think he probably is hoping to find somebody more impartial than us and objective. I don't think he will succeed because we are totally impartial and totally objective, but I think he was looking for someone that is more impartial and objective in his opinion, correct?
So strike the not.
I think so.
Okay,
Or and put maybe more, I don't know what he meant at the time.
well, we don't always know.
No.
Unless, and that was it for that one, and the other one, I have nothing else but 12, and the other one was the 22nd. And this was the day of the weapon on the post. Um. Page 3 of 5. Just additional opportunity, first paragraph, additional opportunities.
Which minutes, Mike?
Sorry, this is the 22nd.
Okay, the
22nd,
22nd.
Yeah.
Page 3, yeah.
Page 3, top paragraph, first paragraph, additional opportunities for buffers, zone mitigation is closer to the outside, but I think just mean singular buffer zone mitigation rather than buffers, because then it wants to put R and spell check, it did that without me even asking. Stallbrook isn't capitalized, isn't, Brook isn't capitalized, it's always one lowercase b for Brook, right? I should know, my kids went to school there, but. It underlined that from me without getting that, my doing it, Stallbrook like Stallbrook School.
That's a tough one.
I don't know, I don't think anybody cares except.
No, I think
No.
it depends on the reference
Yeah,
for
probably.
buffer zone. If it's a generic, okay, a buffer zone in general, or if it's a specific buffer zone that relates to a project, but now we're talking about minutia of the English language.
Yeah, I just only, like I said, it saw was underlined on when I called it up in Word document to look at reading the first time over, and I said, why is it saying is? And I realized, oh, it's because, and it tells you why it does that. So I mean, it doesn't bother me a whole lot. But page 4, the second paragraph, we're talking about the Lake Hiawatha drainage. Page 4, Lake Hiawatha. Second paragraph, the proposed solution is to collect the water from the stream better, to collect roadway water better, and to treat it, provide a little additional capacity in pipes. This sentence, I think is a little up. This would reduce and might provide some storage in those pipes during large storm events where there's a lot of water. This would reduce overflow. This would reduce something.
No, from an engineering standpoint, if you increase the diameter of the pipes themselves contain greater storage capacity.
Right, but we weren't referencing the size of the pipes prior to that. It just says that we're going to collect the water, but it doesn't say what we're doing with the pipes.
So to collect the water from the stream bed.
Collect the water.
But they
Better.
just put the
Treat
plastic
it.
in the pipes.
This would reduce the reduce and part looked like to me it needed to reduce something and then might provide some storage. But I didn't know what we were reducing the speed.
I think they're talking about, I think she was talking about outflow.
Okay, so this would reduce the outflow and might provide some storage. Okay, so yeah, I just thought that would be helpful. And then the next sentence, the goal projects, I'm sorry, the two sentences later. This is being brought before the commission to see how they would feel about trying reduce velocity within, just stick the word to in there, I think, between trying and reduce, that's all. Trying to reduce.
Oh,
velocity.
yeah, okay.
So,
No biggie. I think everything else, yeah, everything else is great.
that's great.
And yeah. Thank you, Tina. I sent those along to you, Ann, just in case.
Thank you.
That's all from me.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Yep. Tina, for those of you who don't know, Tina is hospitalized right now. She's having pretty serious surgery.
I wish
So-
her a good recovery.
Yeah,
I hope so.
we pray for a good recovery. She's having brain surgery, so
Oh man.
hopefully everything will be good. So that being the case with the corrections, I hear no further additions. I'll entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes for March 8th, March 22nd, and April 12th as amended.
So moved.
Oh,
Second,
This one I think we could do by voice vote. All in favor?
aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Anybody hear that thunder?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right.
If you look up to the east and the west right now, the sky is like bright pink, not bright pink, but very pink. Pretty cool.
Did I give you that hearing? Yeah.
All right, I think what we'll do, we have a couple of continuations after the next hearing, but I'd like to get to that. We can get a couple of extra minutes on there. Okay. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the notice of intent for the proposal to construct a 700,000 square foot warehouse facility with associated site appurtenances on a 158 acre parcel located off of Hartford Avenue, Bellingham, and identified as assessors map parcels 30-73-1, 24-12, 31-3, The project proposes temporary and permanent impacts to resource areas jurisdictional to the Wetlands Protection Act of 661 square feet of bordering vegetated wetlands, 95 square feet of bank, 561 square feet of land under water bodies, and the 100-foot buffer zone with proposed mitigation, and is located within the riverfront area to Spring Brook. The project also proposes impacts to resource areas jurisdictional to the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, including 28 linear feet of bank, 15,274 square feet of land subject to flooding, bordering or isolated, 651,879 square feet of buffer zone, 39,357 square feet of isolated vegetated wetlands, 82 square feet of land under water bodies, and 2,484 square feet of vernal pools with proposed mitigation. Andrea Kendall, LEC Environmental Consultants, Worcester, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Jeff Curley, Bellingham Associates, Boylston Street, Chestnut Hill. The continuations will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, April 26th at 7:30. Okay. Let's see, Andrea's just now joining, and somewhere I saw Austin.
We are here, Cliff. We are
Okay,
here.
all right,
I was just rocking out to Jimi Hendrix a minute ago. That's why I was a little bit late joining.
good. Was it good?
It was very good, yeah. So thank you for having us again this evening. I thought what we could do would be recap our journey from Saturday, and then get into some of the discussions that I'm sure will ensue as a result of what we were observing out there together. Make sense?
Sure, absolutely.
Fantastic. I will share my screen, and please let me know when folks can see that.
We can see it.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so just as a quick journey around the world, if you recall, we walked in, and the first thing we took a look at was the lower part here. If you can see the hand I'm circling here, this lower part of wetland E, and this is where we had collectively thought, there were some potential indicators of vernal pool activity, and we thought maybe it was marginal. And given that we're in vernal pool season now, figured let's go look at that and spend some time over there. So we spent some time looking around vernal pool, or the lower part of E, and seeing activity. We didn't see anything by my recollection that was very insightful there, beyond it kind of confirming some of the things that we had suspected. So it's operating in a marginal capacity. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, in our site visit, we did not discover anything that would indicate, as the local bylaw states, breeding activity. But what I'm going to say is that, as our administrator pointed out, vernal pools are ephemeral, and year to year they function in different manners. Last year there was a couple of egg masses there, and that does constitute breeding activity. So Austin, what we're going to do is we're going to ask that that area be included in the area that requires mitigation, along with a couple of other of the areas that are proposed to be impacted.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Cliff. And the purpose of me saying that wasn't to try and get it out of that. It was just
No, we
to kind of
understand.
characterize the conversation. But, and we'll talk about some of the mitigation, because we had a productive discussion on that as well. The second item we did, this area here that I'm circling, that's wetland Y, and the one that, if you recall, was kind of a newly identified resource area as part of these discussions, and one which exhibits the characteristics more traditionally of an active vernal pool area, right? So we looked at that and confirmed essentially what we already thought we knew, which is there was activity in there. I think we found some fairy shrimp as part of that initial kind of sweep, if you will, on Saturday morning.
Yes.
Okay. And then we continued our journey across the site, and we got down to this little spot here, which is our southernmost replication area, which is going to be serving as wetland and even more importantly, vernal pool replication. And we spent some time looking in there to see if it was an appropriate location. We did some light soil augering and some shallow excavation, and it looked like, at least on our initial reaction collectively as a unit, we thought that area looked favorable for wetland replication and vernal pool replication.
Austin,
And-
just a quick point of order, if I may. We
Sure.
also, if you go back, back to the east.
Yeah.
Okay, we did look at the isolated area, which was a deep pocket. I think it was wetland U.
I thought you was, oh, that's Q, sorry. Yeah, I think you're right. Brian, you want to navigate me to where U series is?
You keep going. You're going in the right direction. Yep. A little more. Okay.
No,
Now
other
move
way.
the screen to
Go to
move this-
Go to the right,
This way?
Yeah.
right of what, of Y, north and east to the
Oh,
right.
correct. Yeah, there's this pocket right here. Yep.
That's
I
it.
do
Is that you?
think that's you.
Uh,
That is you.
Okay,
Yes, it
fine.
is.
All right. And so when we were out there very early on, was it this year or was it? I can't even, we've been out there numerous times. We were out there and identified it as being possible. Brian indicated that in all of his observations, there was no vernal pool activity. But the last time we were out there, it had apparently to us the depth that might provide breeding activity possibilities. And so we did review that and found no activity. It was dry and it had been dry. And Brian is there. I think he looked at it last spring. And was the hydro period too short there, Brian, as well?
Yeah, this is the third year we've taken a look at that
Okay.
area, and there's been no breeding activity, and yes, it does dry up rather quickly.
Okay, so then I think the commission will concur that, that one, we don't have to worry about including that in any kind of future, restoration or mitigation efforts. Thanks. Sorry
Yeah,
to,
no problem. I'm glad you stopped me because I do recall us going over there. And then we walked kind of cross country over to this mitigation area, which I said described collectively, we thought felt appropriate given what we saw in terms of elevation, general site features. We did some light augering and some holes to see what the soil material looked like. And all those things felt like we were trending in the right direction. One of the notes that I made was there were some cedars growing in there, and we were going to take special care as the design evolved, and presumptively when we get to construction, to maintain those species, because we felt that that was going to be an important characteristic of that system. That correct?
yes. And I think that Brian and Andrea had indicated that their contention, that their plan was to flesh out and come up with a comprehensive plan for mitigation. We also did some soil work there and found that it appears that groundwater is extremely close to the surface in that area. And based on that, plus the immediately adjacent area to the south, although it looked like it was starting to dry up, there was a multitude of wood frog tadpoles present, along with some other exciting macroinvertebrate and insect life.
Was this the elusive water scorpion?
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah.
So
We're all fired.
yeah, but we saw absolutely no evidence of that in the area that we're proposing, for mitigation. So I think your assessment is correct.
Okay, great. And I think what we were talking about briefly too was that generally speaking, and perhaps an oversimplification, was making that a model, or that kind of stuff a model for how we wanted to carry these other mitigation areas through, and kind of have them treat and operate in a similar fashion, right? So as Brian and Andrea evolve what's currently kind of somewhat of a conceptual design and making it more formal, to have that be kind of a template, if you will, right?
Absolutely. And you know, these areas are going to be required because of the activities that are proposed directly in the footprint of the building. The other thing, and we're going to wait, and our peer reviewer was unable to make tonight's meeting, but we're going to ask him to commence, you know, reviewing some of this data and putting pen to paper relative to his comments. We're going to wait for him to weigh in on the area that you're proposing for enhancement next to the existing vernal pool to the northwest of the site along Spring Brook. I think that based on our previous site visit, the commission had expressed concerns about intruding into the 100-foot buffer zone of a known vernal pool, cutting vegetation and doing grading. So, I mean, we could wait for our peer review comments, or the area that was proposed for enhancement there could be added to the area that we reviewed last Saturday. No.
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm glad you mentioned that, Cliff, because it's something I wanted to touch on too, because I do recall there being some discussion as part of our past engagements here, kind of in this forum, about that area specifically, and I had some thoughts on that as well. That, you know, I wanted to get the commission's input on tonight, because we were kind of thinking about that and trying to be collaborative, right? As the commission's been collaborative with us. So one of the things I wanted to touch on before I get a bit too granular on the mitigation, just as kind of a quick recap, because we are starting to get to the, what I'm happy about, get to the next level of, hey, these areas are starting to feel, or generally we got the idea kind of coalescing on the mitigation. Just as a kind of a quick refresh on where we are from a large picture perspective, where when you count IVW, we're about 39,300 and something square feet of IVW. And then about 661 square feet, I think, of BVW, which is largely or entirely associated with the brook over at A, which we'll show in a second. So just for round numbers and oversimplification, we're about 40,000 square feet of total alteration. The mitigation that we have on this plan is direct replication right now. It's approximately 64,400 square feet. The ratio there equates to about 1.6 to 1. And in that 39,000 plus square feet, the vernal pool areas, which we're talking about, the entirety of Y, which is the green boundary, this little purple boundary is what has been established as kind of the mean high water level, but we're counting all of Y in that mitigation, which is the green boundary and a bit of an expanded footprint. And then this lower lobe of E, essentially between flags E42 and kind of in this clockwise pattern to E3 is what we established. Cumulatively, those two vernal pools are approximately 4,400 square feet. So just by way of a quick reset, we have over 64,000 square feet of actual wetland mitigation that's proposed, 4,400 square feet of what's being considered vernal pool alteration. That 64,000 square feet, what we're expecting that to be, and the intent behind that, is that it's operating like a high functioning wetland system and vernal pool. So, the model that we talked about in the field, just high level on Saturday for that southerly mitigation area, we're going to employ it. And the idea is that we establish about 64,000 square feet of that. So if you look at it from a strictly a vernal pool perspective, it's a pretty large ratio, right? If you look at it from IVW or wetlands, generally speaking, it's about 1.6 to 1. I feel like, personally, and I'm not objective in this conversation, obviously, I feel like we're starting to get close to refining the mitigation package a little bit, particularly being a bit sensitive to what you, Cliff, and the commission had talked about, and wanting to not disturb established buffer zones or areas to create mitigation. So what we're trying to do with that 1.6 to 1 is replicate these wetlands and enhance them in areas of the site that would be considered, I guess, for the purposes of this discussion, either degraded or worthy of enhancing. I'm offering that just for a quick reset to make sure we're still all speaking the same language and on the math, so that as Andrea and Brian continue to evolve their design, that we're doing it in lockstep. Does that generally make sense?
I understand, and I believe the commission would agree that this is going to be a requirement for the development and the footprint in ancillary necessary attachments to the building. Now,
Yeah.
I know, and further on in this meeting, we want to talk about, the roadway, and we'll talk to Jeff about that. But I think that what you're saying, Austin, is something that the commission understands. But I'm going to ask right now, is there anyone here who has a question, comment, addition to what Austin is saying? In terms of,
No, I think his summary is accurate of the current situation and their current replication efforts and our discussions. I think that's generally where we've been talking.
Yeah, I think that the actual replication for vernal pool, and previously we asked Brian and Andrea to provide information where they've done vernal pool replication, or they're aware of vernal pool replication. And I know that they're going to be searching through information that's available to determine the success of these things. Rather than replication, I think it's more of, an enhancement somewhere else. But I think that's semantics right now. I think the concept for what we're looking at here is we're moving in the right direction.
Good, because I'm glad, because I feel the same way. And I actually was thinking about this in the ride home on Saturday. I felt like there was a really productive site walk that we had on Saturday, because I felt like things were starting to kind of come together a little bit, where we spent a lot of time looking at the data and figuring out, as we should have. And all of a sudden that resulted in, oh, okay, cool, this is all starting to kind of coalesce a little bit, right? So that was productive.
Mr. Chair,
If you don't mind, Cliff, what I'd like to do is pivot to that area next to, I think it's this one you were talking
Also,
about.
can you just hold on a second? I think Michael had something. Michael had something he wanted to add.
Austin may be about to cover it. I was going to speak or ask when he was referring to areas where we might not try to get, we meaning you, the developer, might not be getting into affecting an area that's already functioning as a vernal pool or, a good wetlands area. And instead of going to less desirable sites and creating stuff, that was the one that came to my mind, the area you're about to circle around, where we have the two vernal pools that are functioning pretty well. And we were talking about creating more area around them, but end up disturbing them so much that I had strong reservations about that after we talked about it the second or third time out there looking at it. So go ahead, Austin, you probably are about to address that.
No, I'm glad you offered that context, because, I recall that discussion when we were out in the field, maybe a month ago or so. And also having kind of watched the last hearing, which unfortunately I wasn't able to attend, and talking to our team, what I understood was that there was some discussion about this, and there was still a little bit of, I'm going to call it hesitation about it being the ideal position for some of that mitigation. So what we had talked about, and if you recall on I'm going to pivot to a plan which shows some topo real quick, just so we get some further context there. So this is that area in the back right here. This is the mitigation area. This is that parking lot, which I have parking stuff I want to talk about too. But if you recall, when we were walking out there, we were kind of in that it's this area that I'm kind of highlighting with my hand, or my virtual hand anyway. And if you recall, remember there was a lot of like flat spot in there, and we did a little bit of soil augering, and we found that there was maybe like a more of a restrictive layer, about 1 foot to 18 inches down. And it felt and visually looked like it was kind of an area that may have, some seasonal flow through there or something. And it felt like that might be a decent spot for some enhancement. And what we're considering as a team, rather than do this, which, you know, has some earthwork attached to it, perhaps using that area as a way, because it's flat, low lying, there were very high canopy trees, but there wasn't a lot of understory vegetation that was established yet, is pivoting this mitigation to really enhance that low-lying space in there between those knolls and some of those ridge lines that were through there. It felt like, at least based on the discussions we were having in the field at that time, or the observations we were making, that may be a more appropriate location for this. And I would appreciate the commission's feedback, at least high-level feedback on that.
Weren't you gonna be doing some some further digging? The augers went just so far, but Andrew and both, or whoever else was augering out there. Not like you get so far down, but you guys talked about doing a test pit or something out there, didn't you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we're at the event horizon for that. I'm just getting the excavator schedule pinned down. And once I know the dates, and I'm going to communicate that directly with you so that all of a sudden we're not just out there digging holes and be like, you know, what's going on. I just need the dates pinned, and I'll let you know, Ann, so that if you wanted to come out there and see what we're doing, you're welcome to, obviously.
So what we're
And
looking
then
at,
also, then Austin, you'd have to then relocate basin 1. And would you pivot that more over towards where the replication was originally or currently proposed, or?
Well, what I'm contemplating, it's a good question, Neil, and what I'm contemplating right now, because this is hypothetical, I didn't want to start making a bunch of movements without obviously the commission at least giving me some, I think that makes sense feedback, was taking this basin and actually putting it below the parking lot. And the reason I think that makes sense logistically, this parking lot is largely in a fill condition. It's not like I'm creating this big excavation hole to put the parking lot in, and the basin would fit underneath that. It would still be high enough where I could use it to contribute to the hydrology of this space, which ultimately kind of works its way through the woods and gets down towards the brook. So from that high level perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And but I didn't want to put all those pieces and untangle all that if the commission had a different opinion than what we may have discussed about a month ago when we were out in the field.
yeah, so from a stormwater management perspective, we like infiltration. We've permitted it in several of the WS commercial subdivisions previous to this. But I'm going to caution you, Austin, that area that was that showed the water staining and was holding water periodically is obviously perched soil. If you go in there with an excavator and breach that layer, whatever it happens to be, it won't be perched any longer.
No, I think you're right, and I think what we're gonna have to do, and we had talked about this, and all knowledge out in the field was be delicate about it. It's not going to just be tear through that and see what happens. I think we want to be thorough enough to understand what's creating kind of that restrictive layer that we thought we were hitting, and understand a bit more how that's functioning, but not so invasive that we're disturbing how it's actually operating. That fair?
Well, let's look at your proposal to create infiltration under the parking area. So there is going to be a substantial amount of fill. Have you done any soil work there? In other words,
So
what I'm thinking here is that you may want to determine whether or not infiltration under the parking area is a viable alternative before you poke around in where your proposed basin is now and inadvertently create a puncture in an area that might not hold water in the future.
Good point.
No, it's a good point. So the short answer to a longer answer would be we have some initial test pits which were done historically. Yeah, and that's not in the entirety of it. So admittedly, there'd have to be some more work done. This one indicated that groundwater was down just over
inches.
almost 8 feet. Yeah, almost 8 feet. So I would want to, as part of the extra excavations that we'd be doing, is put some additional holes in here, strategically located to just better refine our understanding of groundwater in there. Generally speaking, it appears to be pretty pretty deep in this location here. I'd want to push over here a little bit
Mhm.
and then lightly explore this area just to understand how that thing is operating. I feel pretty good about it, and so does Andrew's cap. I feel pretty good about it because it is, like I said, a large fill condition, and we'd have the material there, but I want the native soils to be receptive to it as well. So I think, Cliff, what we'll do is dig some holes in there and do some light exploring in here too, because the surface basin contemplated infiltration as well. And we had to do some additional explorations in there. So we're going to kind of do that testing concurrently is the idea.
Yeah, I'd like to be a participant in the review of that, because, it may also be advisable to do some of that work, especially in the middle of that area by hand.
You're referring, when you say that area, you're referring to this area here, right?
Yes,
Okay.
with the perched area. Now, obviously, that perched area does not, in fact, you can probably see where the perched area is, because it looks like it was the flat area right under the SUR. That area looks like that
Yeah.
area right there looks
Yeah.
like it might be, because it was relatively flat.
No, it's pretty definable on the contours when you don't have a bunch of labels masking it. It is pretty definable on the contours, and I can picture it sitting out there with those ridge lines. And
Okay.
everything. So,
And so,
Would the perch soils there be an asset to holding
Well, I
water
think-
and helping the hydrology of whatever potentially we were going to create in there?
Potentially, and that's what we want to explore. I mean, right now it's allowing water to kind of push its way through. But we want to figure out what's actually going on. The restrictive soils could potentially be favorable to helping us create a replication in there. Yeah.
I think it's worth exploring.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's a good idea too. And I'm glad you agree. We have a couple minutes left in our allotted time. What I thought would make sense, Cliff, provided you and the commission agree. We've had some discussions about, and I even heard it when I logged on briefly, the minutes in the southerly parking area and just the general parking. I've started looking at that with Jeff and the team, and we've started thinking about ways, how can we minimize, reduce, and still maintain the operational integrity of the project. If you'd like, I'd be happy to bring up a high-level concept that we're starting to look at to get your feedback on, and what that means, just generally speaking, from the overall program.
You mean right now?
Yeah, I don't
Or do you mean-
explore it in great detail, but it's influential to some of these conversations we're having, I think.
So what you're looking at as a conceptual plan here. I think what the commission was looking at here was going back to conversations that we had with Jeff relative to the abandonment of access and a bypass road. And then to us, that means abandonment of the bypass road and the crossing from North Main Street, yet the right to develop those in the future has been preserved. And the commission has been pretty clear about that right along. And I know that, our minutes have reflected in the last couple of meetings that, let me just say, historically, this is the 10th major warehouse in the town of Bellingham. We have 9 other warehouses that are between 200,000 and 400,000 square feet. This is 700,000 square feet. And we're all aware of the impacts that are associated with the development of this building. We feel that the best way to provide the mitigation that's required, and we were clear, conservation restrictions on regulated resource areas. I mean, that's nice. It's an extra layer of protection. That's really not mitigation. Was the abandonment of that, as was represented to the commission before. And our conversations with the planning board are that they feel that that area is not necessary. And so the commission looks at the amount of impacts to resource areas and the whole site. And we feel that, as we stated before, this is maximum utilization of the site and preserving the ability to develop or create bypass roads or to do activities in the future that will further impact resource areas it's not acceptable. So that's where the commission was coming from on that. So before we get into doing something to minimize the footprint of a roadway and parking area that the commission doesn't feel is necessary, I think that's an issue that we should probably work through first. No, that people, anybody on the commission want to weigh in on this or what?
I agree 100%, Mr. Chairman.
So I think we don't have time to do that now. And so what I'm going to suggest here is that irrespective of the final disposition of that southern parking area and the bridge crossing, I think we need to develop a strategy for the stormwater and for the vernal pool enhancement area to the north that we're looking at right now. Then we also have to flush out the areas on the south, because in the event that that roadway is abandoned, those areas will still need to be created. So that activity should also be fleshed out for review by the commission and by peer review. So I'd like to proceed along those lines and offer, Jeff an opportunity to, you can put something in writing, or we can wait at the next continuation and we can discuss that as the primary focus of the hearing. Does that make sense?
I think so. I don't know, Jeff, if you wanted to provide any additional thoughts there, but
I'm not sure where to begin. We're not proposing a bypass road. I guess first and foremost, we're extending the road down to provide additional parking for what we hope to be a project that'll be competitive in the marketplace. We don't know, as I've said to you a number of times, Mr. Chairman, we don't know who the end users are here. To simply judge the parking to be unnecessary, in the commission's opinion, I don't know how to react to or respond to that, to other than to suggest we're already seeking relief under the bylaw for the required number of parking spaces for the use. We are proposing less than the bylaw requires us to provide, and we are trying to stay flexible and stay competitive in the marketplace of end users here. I can opine on that in a letter if that's, but I don't know what the commission's basis is for a judgment that the parking is unnecessary.
Well, yeah, okay. We're working closely with the planning board on that, and we're looking at the impacts that are created by that particular area, as well as the crossing, which is preserved. It's that crossing has not been eliminated because the access is still in place.
And I don't think anyone, Jeff, is suggesting that you're planning on building the road now, but by not giving that additional protection to that part of the site, the doors being left open in the future to create that roadway.
The crossing that you're referring to and the roadway you're referring to are the access out to North Main Street and the so-called M crossing once upon a time?
Yes.
Is that, yeah. That's not proposed here, obviously.
Obviously.
If it were, it wouldn't be by me, because I understand the commission's position on it very clearly. But it would have to be judged and evaluated based on the merits of that particular project, should one come forward. But there is other land down there that is available, that is upland, that doesn't require access out to North Main Street and doesn't require a crossing at Wetland M. In fact, some feedback from town staff has been, to the extent there is further development down there, depending on the nature of that development, they'd prefer to see it be accessed through Crossroads, through Crossroads and via Hartford Avenue versus an access out to North Main Street. So I think this, and I don't want to lose sight of the track that the parking is a necessary amenity for this project. I want to make that clear, but the road does facilitate future development for developable land there, and it accesses it in a way that, again, depending on the proposed use back there, is consistent with where town staff has suggested we provide access. So no one's proposing a crossing out to North Main Street as part of this project, and if one were to materialize, it would certainly have to stand on its own merits. And I, for one, knowing the history here, would certainly understand the commission's position on such a thing.
Okay, well, I have no idea what staff is suggesting here. We've had no correspondence, communication with staff, but what we're saying here is that, and you've pretty much told us that in the future, these access will be provided to another parcel that is going to be developed. And you're pretty much
That's not what I don't have the ability to develop that parcel, Cliff. I don't control it today. I don't, but I know that town has is aware of it and knows it's a developable piece of land back there. There's been inquiry at the town level about it. We can speak to town administrator, to planning staff. Our project is the project that's before you. It's the project we've proposed here. It requires, we believe, to be competitive in the marketplace, requires these parking spaces.
And I think at our last meeting, we discussed the ability to slightly reduce the footprint of the building to provide property parking more proximate to the facility itself. I mean, it's
So while not a reduction in the building footprint, because again, we're trying to also be a participant.
maximize the use of your property.
Pardon me?
Maximize the use of your property.
We are trying to maximize, obviously, and trying to play a role in the Route 126 improvements as well. But that's what Austin was alluding to before. We have taken a harder look at the limits of the proposed parking. We've looked at a combination of compact spaces, relocation of some of the parking on site, trying to stay net zero with respect to the number of parking spaces. But we are, and he was prepared to go into, I know we've run out of time tonight and we can do this at a future hearing, but we do have some preliminary ideas we'd love your thoughts on reducing some of these parking area footprints while trying to maintain the number we're trying to hang on to.
Okay. So I think we have some work to do here. We will be communicating with our peer reviewer to start getting him on board and prepared to review some of the information that's going to be coming in. We have only one meeting in June because we are obligated to attend the annual town meeting, which always occurs on the second Wednesday. May. So I'd like to continue this to the first meeting in June, which is June 14th, which is already following up pretty quickly. And we'll look forward to seeing your information. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of June 14th at 8 o'clock.
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Steve.
I'll move it.
Oh, there you go.
It's okay. Takes a few meetings.
Okay, I think that I think I can recognize our voices now. All in favor of the continuation, let's signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, opposed? All right. Then
Mr. Chair, do we have a time for that meeting?
we do 8 o'clock. June 14th at 8.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have
Thank
yourself-
you.
Thank you all. Appreciate the
care.
progress.
Okay, take care now.
Next one.
Oops. All right. 7.
Mr. Chair, am I free to ask a question about that last meeting?
I'll tell you what, Steve, can you hold on? Can you hold on?
Absolutely. It's not pressing.
Yeah, what we're gonna do is, we have continuations to work on right now. And I'd like to do that. So the Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the notice of intent for the proposed construction of a 2-car detached garage and rain garden located within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and in the outer riverfront area of Assessors Map 9, Lot 5173, Standish Road, Bellingham. Margaret Bacon, Civil Site Engineering, Uxbridge, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Clifford Ansell, Standish Road, Bellingham. The continuation will be held on the evening of Wednesday, April 26th at 8 o'clock. So we have a continuation request from the applicant's representative. They have some work to do on determining impacts to the riverfront resource area. This is one of those situations where when you're a regulatory authority and you're looking at the plan and you see the resource areas marked on the plan, the whole story isn't always readily apparent. This subdivision was built in 1960 or thereabouts, and at the time it was built, there were no resource area protections, and many people who lived along the river just cut down and cleared all the vegetation and put their lawns right up against the river. So it's an interesting situation. Technically, it is in the riparian zone, and the applicant's representative is going to look at that and see what strategy she can come up with to satisfy DEP's comments. But that being the case, there's nothing else we can discuss tonight. So I'll entertain a motion to continue at the applicant's request, the hearing to the evening of June 14th at 8:30.
So moved.
Brian,
Second.
Neil. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's only us here, so that's a unanimous vote. Thank you. Now, we have another continuation coming up, but we have a couple of minutes, so Steve has a question.
On this is back with WS Development, if the special permit is not approved, what happens? The ratio goes back for the parking spaces and the building gets reduced and the parking capacity goes up?
That's my understanding of the planning board special permit, yeah.
Do we have a sense of where it stands?
Well, our conversations with the planning board is that they have sufficient parking for the use. Now, this application was filed with the planning board as a warehouse. But what we heard tonight and in a previous meeting is that they're unsure what the ultimate use of this is going to be.
They've made that point clear a couple times in my limited time here.
Yeah, there could be light manufacturing. There could be several other uses of a building of that size.
In fact,
And
it seems they favor the ability to present the building for resale as being multi-use.
Yes, that would seem to be where they're going.
Value added.
Yeah, they're trying to keep their options open and keep the project, as he said, viable. But again, the point, they're maxed out now on this site, and we haven't even seen the peer review of their stormwater calculations. We don't even know if they can meet the performance standards on their stormwater as the project is currently designed, maximizing the site as they are.
I don't think they feel they're maxing the site though, from what they just, what's the thing, Jeff just said was, there's other parts of this site that are still developable, that are upland and don't have the impact of.
Right, but the impact of that building and those parking spaces in that current configuration.
In that area of the overall property.
Correct, and they're not going to put parking spaces 2,000 feet down that access road and have people have to hoof it.
Right.
So they really are in the area they're working in, they've maxed them, but we haven't seen their stormwater calcs and they haven't been reviewed, so we don't even, this is like the one on High Street. We don't know if they can even do it at the size that it currently is. It may have to be reduced simply to meet stormwater.
Unless they go.
And that's a good point, but we have to be really careful because, we've closed the hearing. And so having a discussion, this will be part of the minutes. So it'll be part of the record, but we don't want to have ongoing conversations relative to a project when the applicant's representative is not present. So, I mean, we entertain Steve's question, but I don't want to get into discussions about what or what not they may be doing. I think Jeff Curley was pretty clear about, what they're trying to preserve and what their intentions are. So we'll leave it at that for now, but it's food for thought for everybody who's.
Planning board meeting tomorrow on this, Cliff? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Planning board meeting about this tomorrow? Is it on their agenda,
Tomorrow night, I believe,
Okay, thanks.
tomorrow evening, yeah.
Point taken, Cliff, but we shouldn't discuss it, you're right.
You might want to just confirm that, Mike.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay, and so we are very close to our next continuation, but not quite. And they are it's an opening of the hearing, but they're requesting a continuation. So I want to look at the work that our administrator has been doing. She's handled about 20 or 24 certificate of compliance requests for lots at Lakeview Estates. And we've been moving the process along.
Denied.
However, at our last site visit, everyone was kind enough to sign 3 certificate of compliance requests that were carefully reviewed and vetted by the administrator and the chairman, and we found them to have no issues. Now, there are others that we've inspected that we need corrective action to be taken. We're not bringing those forward for acceptance, but I would like to get a vote to issue. So I'll entertain a motion to issue certificates of compliance for 14 Candlelight Lane, 36 Candlelight Lane, and 43 Candlelight Lane as being complete and substantially in accordance with the plans of record for the order of conditions.
So moved.
Steve?
Second.
Oh, that was
I
a
won.
tie. We'll give that one to Ariane.
All right.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote. And so now we have 4 more that we haven't brought forward for signature. And these are the first 4 lots that were built originally, and they are 7 years, 8 years.
Something like that, yeah.
They're on Jordan Avenue. They're part of Lakeview Estates, but they're not on any of the roadways that were constructed.
It could be 12 years,
Could be-
10 years.
Could be 10 years. Yeah, I think you're right.
Mm.
So when we looked at these lots, two of them didn't even have rain gardens, and only a small corner of the lot was in the buffer zone. The others, the other two did have rain gardens. They were in excellent shape. All the grading is, everything's in compliance, well established, 10 years down the road. They're probably the nicest lots in the whole subdivision. So based on the work that the administrator and the chairman's done, if it's your wish, please signify. I'll entertain a motion to issue certificates of compliance for 15, 13, 19, and 17 Jordan Avenue.
So moved.
Neil,
Second,
Steve,
Steve.
Quick question,
Any-
Cliff. Did I understand you right that the first two of those four you said didn't even have rain guards, like they weren't supposed to though, correct?
well, go ahead.
Go ahead, you tell.
All right. So what happened was they were supposed to have rain gardens. And a follow-up inspection that the administrator required showed that lo and behold, they did not have rain gardens. So what we did is we had several additional rain gardens constructed on candlelight to make up for that.
Oh, okay.
And if you,
We also, excuse me,
Go ahead.
we also included some of these rain gardens in the replication square footage at parcel C. I might have mentioned that to you when we were on our site walk.
if you remember parcel C, there were two isolated vegetated wetlands. So what we did, and you're absolutely right,
Mhm.
is because a couple of the rain gardens, a few of the rain gardens weren't constructed, we had them create a hydrological and vegetative connection between two isolated vegetated wetlands, which, by the way, was done by Ecotech,
Mhm.
Arthur Allen, and they are in excellent condition. So it worked very nicely.
I think I remember that area.
Yeah, there was good hydrology in there, so it was,
Yeah,
There was.
Yeah,
yeah,
they did a good job.
yeah.
So we just have.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
I,
Okay, all we have. That's a unanimous vote. All we have to do now is arrange for signatures. And we're not going out this weekend, and we're not going out the following weekend. It's my mother's birthday. We're going to Connecticut.
That's it.
Two-part question, Ann. Are you gonna be in tomorrow morning?
Yes,
What time?
I'll be there by 9-ish.
Now it's a three-part question.
Well,
I need to get sworn in.
Okay,
So I have some appointments tomorrow. But I need to get on the road fairly early, so I was gonna stop in at the municipal center at
Yeah.
around 8 and see the town clerk
okay,
and do that.
okay.
But if you're not gonna be in,
Well, I can make arrangements to be in my office. 8.
8:30-ish?
Yeah, I could do 8:15 even, you know.
Unless Larry just wants to hold the forums.
I don't want to mess your morning up.
No, I just have to drive up to the North Shore to take my dad to a couple of appointments.
Yeah.
that's important business.
Yeah, it is. 8:15? Would that work?
Yeah, I can be at town hall at 8, and the swearing in won't take but a couple of minutes, hopefully.
Oh, I don't know if they're in at 8 now.
Oh, boy.
I don't know that they're in that early.
What time does the municipal center open?
I think they might be in more like 8:30.
Wait a
When
minute.
I met last week, it was 8 o'clock.
Was it? Okay.
Someone was in?
Yes.
I
Okay.
was gonna say, what are they, at bankers hours down there?
Well,
Now-
I just, okay, well, if Steve was down there and that worked.
With Melissa. Now, I have a quick question. Thank you, Neil.
Somebody's coming.
What is the formality of the swearing in? I did a lot of paperwork, but there was no raising of the hand and
You, at the town clerks, you didn't,
correct.
Well, you
You
should have had to
didn't?
raise the hand and
Did you
say
have
the
to
word.
Did you sign the book?
No,
You may not get sworn in yet.
He didn't get sworn in.
oh dear.
They filled out some paperwork. But according to the town website, municipal centers open 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Thursday.
8:30 to
8:30?
4:30.
On the website, that's what it said, but it's.
okay, I thought we were missing a formality that day.
Maybe it was the janitor who did it.
Oh, man.
No, he
Well,
was-
he is.
No, I know what happened. Steve worked with human resources.
That is correct. Melissa,
Oh, they got-
Melissa,
Right.
and you didn't go up to the town clerk's office?
I understood that we were finished.
Oh,
okay, all
okay,
right.
so, yeah.
Miscommunication.
You may need another trip down to town hall to do the actual swearing in at the town clerk's.
At the town.
So am I allowed to vote?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, you have a grace period.
Okay.
yes.
Done very gracefully, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you had to deal with HR to become a special town employee.
Correct.
Yes.
We're
There-
special, all right.
My social security is handwritten on no less than a dozen sheets of paper.
Which one made you very unhappy.
It's safer than if it was on a computer.
And we're in the retirement plan.
Hmm.
You're right.
Yeah, that'll accumulate correct.
Okay,
Someday it's gonna cost them more to send me the check than is in the account.
Just remember.
I'm waiting for that.
The swearing in ceremony, not a swearing at ceremony, so don't correct that, just because you know.
so is there anyone else who can make arrangements to sign these?
I can be down there at 9 or 9:30, whatever time you'd
Okay.
like to mutually stroll in tomorrow, Ann.
Okay,
Okay,
and I am available to the administrator whenever she should so desire.
okay. That's 3, but I need somebody else.
I
Let
could
me-
maybe do next week. Is that
Next
too late?
When next week?
Thursday, or we could like meet somewhere this weekend, unless you guys are out.
Unless we met on Saturday. Can anyone meet on Saturday? No? Oh, sorry, you can't go on Saturday.
Can you leave them in your mailbox and we can drive by and sign them, or is that too risky?
Mailbox.
Does she have a
The
mailbox?
mailbox down by the printer.
Oh,
We've never done that, ever.
no.
Mailman don't take them.
Yeah, he'll put a stamp on them and send them back to you.
Put them in the benzenoid filter beds.
You guys are too gracious. I'll
Oh,
tell you.
my God.
And I could probably catch you either Thursday morning or Friday morning.
Just remember, Brian, Thursday is tomorrow. Make it sound like.
Thursday, yeah, forget Thursday. Thursday might be a little tough. I can't catch you in the morning on Thursday.
Well, that would give us 4 if reliable Brian could make it on Friday. So that would be Neil,
Mike,
Mike,
you.
Brian, and
No pressure, Brian. If you can do it, fine. If not, then I'll reach out to Ariane and see if we can set something up for next week. I just would like to get these off my desk.
And Friday morning, could I meet you somewhere a little earlier?
Like what time? Like you,
How's it, like noon? How's 8 o'clock?
Friday at 8?
Friday morning at 8 somewhere? All we need is a parking lot, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, is the Muni Center too difficult?
Nope.
for you?
Nope, that's fine.
Well, let's do that then. Friday
All right.
at 8. Thank you.
You're welcome. This Friday, 8 a.m.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
And
And
who
might
should
be
I
able-
talk to about the swearing in? I guess it's not Melissa.
No, that's the town clerk's
Town
office. That'd be
clerk's office.
Larry.
But just walk up to the counter at the town's clerk's office. They'll help you out.
Main entrance on the left.
if they're open,
They do it right there in the lobby.
but they don't open till 8:30.
Well,
But are they still open on Monday nights?
No, they haven't been. in a
Okay, they
long
haven't in
time.
a long time, okay.
Well, maybe I'll come see you first and then go get sworn at.
Or now. That's fine.
Awesome.
I tell you what, that sounds like a plan. Then, Ann, make it 8:15 for the signature and we'll do the swearing in at 8:30.
8:15 on Friday morning, Steve.
Correct.
Thank you.
At the Municipal Center.
Yes, sir.
You know where her office is?
I do not.
It's a secret.
Huge building, you'll never find it.
Do we even need to go in the building?
Yes,
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Go
I
in the
think it's
back, in the
outside.
it's on the
Bottom one?
lower level. It's on the lower level.
Yeah.
As you walk in the main entrance on the lower level, you proceed to the first intersection and make a right. And it's
Okay.
at the end of the hall on the right.
I'll probably be there flagging you down.
It's the dungeon of the municipal center.
It is not.
No, it's the highlight.
There's only 12 offices in the whole building. You can find it in probably 5 minutes just wandering.
Now, see, Steve, after you spend a few more weeks in the field with us, these directions will make perfect sense.
Behind that tree.
Okay, we do have another hearing to get to. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and a notice of intent for the installation of a Title V septic system to replace a failing system located in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at Assessor's Map 4, Parcel 30, 8 Beach Street, Bellingham. Karen Skinner Catrone, 63 Gilbert Street, Stoughton, has submitted a filing on behalf of Daniel and Gertrude Taylor, 8 Beach Street, Bellingham. The hearing will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, April 26th at 8:20. Did we get the advertising for this?
Yes, we got the advertising check today.
Okay, we got the advertising check. We haven't received the DEP file number. Just for the record, since the hearing's open, the administrator and myself inspected this property. It's a small lot. It's enclosed by a fence. They have limited area to replace a failing cesspool. They're going to put in an engineered system. And it looked really good, but we'll wait for the applicant to make the presentation.
Is it being put in under a driveway, Cliff?
No,
Because I
directly
was
behind the
looking at-
house.
Okay, as I'm looking at the application, under project impacts, I just caught my eye because it was handwritten. It says temporary disturbance dash area will return to impervious. So that made me thought maybe they digging something up like a driveway and sticking the septic under and then making it impervious again. Why would you say an area?
Well, there is a driveway. Is there some breakout grade there?
I don't know. We'll
They-
have,
We'll ask her.
I'm just curious. Usually they want to make areas pervious, not
I
impervious.
think they mean pervious.
I thought it could be, but it's a minor error for somebody that does septic system design for you.
But what we can do is take a look at that.
Yeah. Okay.
But what I was getting at is usually in these circumstances, when there's a brook directly behind the property and there's a fence there, the brook is full of trash and debris. And the debris was inside their fence on their own property. So, and it's been there for a while.
This is like the 4th or 5th in my time on Concom site down that area, Beach Street, Stone Street, the very north end of town there. That
Yep.
says that
Yeah.
septic bills. It's like a low area right next to the stream and
yeah.
Yep, coming out of Medway, yep.
yep, it's just a tough spot. I mean, I sympathize with the people there. They don't have really any choice when the septic fails. It's like gonna be bubbling up out of the ground like something out of the Beverly Hillbillies, only not as pleasant as oil.
Yeah, well, it's not oil. It's bubbling up out of the ground there.
I know, I've been there, yeah.
But it is high groundwater.
It's a bubbling crude.
Well, I think this one's
It's crude, all right.
I think this is gonna be built up too. They said a couple of feet
It's
and
okay.
tapered back front. This is the bed.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of May 10th at 8:10.
Second,
Noel? Michael? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay, that's a unanimous vote. Ian, do we have anything else?
I think we did it all.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. We haven't said the words pervious pavement or permeable pavement, whatever the word is for, we did one driveway once in Bellingham.
Pervious pavers.
Pervious pavers, is there any commercial level application for that, for like huge parking lots and say behind Hartford?
Yes. Yes, there
Would
is
that be the
pervious,
debate?
there is pervious pavement. They've done it in places, most places have done it, have taken it back out again because it has it doesn't hold up well.
I figured for tractor trailers and stuff, it's sort of that way, but in the rest, in the,
Plows tear it up,
Yep.
moisture, because moisture is going through it.
Yeah.
It tends to freeze
Mhm.
and crack it. I know URI did large parking lots with it and ended up taking it all back out again because it was just a maintenance nightmare.
well, given the permeability of that project behind Home Depot in many areas where it's a lot of sand and so forth, gravel and stuff. It almost seemed like the applicant would, if that, they could find the right kind of materials to go on top, so they're not replacing it all. Be benefited and make it easier for us perhaps somewhat if that was valuable. I didn't want to bring it up and start opening a can of worms this hearing or maybe even the next hearing, but I just thought I'd throw that out there if that was something we want to see if it would make things better for us. I don't want to do it, it's gonna make it harder for us.
I think they
because of
should just go with clamshells.
clamshells. Less is more, yeah. Stone dust.
Well,
Yeah.
we have to remember, this is about an 18-acre building.
Oof.
And so, again, this is the 10th big warehouse we have. If I were on the planning board, I'd have to be asking, what is the use? You're the planning board. What is the use of the building?
What are they planning?
Correct. But the bottom line is, that's a lot of impervious, clean stormwater that must by regulation be infiltrated. So they're going to level that site. It's going to be high. Everybody's going to see this thing, but they have to infiltrate all of that under the footprint of the building.
Oh, it has to be under the footprint, it can't be.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to, because they can't infiltrate that volume of water under the parking, because with the elevations being so high, they're risking blowout. So, this is
Again,
what
we
happens
can't get
when you
into
wanna-
this, again, we can't get into discussion.
No, you're right.
Right.
You're my mistake, my bad. Mea culpa.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else anybody has to discuss tonight?
Oh, I
Bruins
sent
are
out-
tied.
Bruins are tied, yeah. I just FYI, I sent everyone an attached the document or a link to the MACC workshops, notes and stuff like that, just for information. If anybody's finds a topic that they really want to see, they sent it to everybody that attended. And I know some people weren't unable to attend. Maybe there's no topic there you like, but they're only available till May 31st online. Those are the connections.
There's one thing I'm going to suggest to anyone who works in the field. There is a new wetlands delineation handbook. And it's something that should be perused, because it talks about the interaction of hydrology, soil, and vegetation. And it talks about the expanded and retracted plant list. So it's something we should familiarize ourselves with. I've started looking at it myself.
Is this where is this available through
I
MACC?
actually
or-
have a copy of it. I can send it out if you want.
It came with a second one, Cliff, that was replication.
Yep.
Yep.
I haven't looked at that one, but I'm mostly partway through the delineation book.
There are some changes.
Yeah, is that a PDF you have or something, Ian?
Yes.
Could you, yeah, if you don't mind, please.
No.
And so just for
yeah, you sent
Steve's,
to me too.
okay,
Yeah.
Ariane would like it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you're gonna make a
Maybe
copy.
could send it to
send
everyone.
it to all
Yeah, I
of them.
will.
She'll send it to the commission.
I'll probably have to put it in Dropbox. Hopefully
Yeah,
that's,
that's fine.
But I just want to say to Steve, because he's new and he hasn't participated, but he was at our last site visit at SNET Trail Estates. Our wetland replication oversight over the past many years has been excellent. And to my knowledge, we've never had a replication area fail. So we put a lot of care and attention into that, and we know what all of the tricks of the trade are. So Steve is going to have an opportunity. He saw what it looks like before. He's going to get to see the drawings. He's going to get to see the construction as it's ongoing. He's going to get a chance to see the monitoring reports that go on for 3 years. So it'll be a really good introduction on a replication area that's not massive.
And I'm excited about it, frankly.
It'll be good.
Yeah, that's great timing.
yeah.
Great time. All right, any other questions?
One last question. What, on the same subject, what history do we have of the success of these replicated vernal pools?
None. We've never allowed it.
We don't know of any.
We don't know of any. We've asked the applicant to provide information with success, and we're waiting.
All right.
That's a tough nut to crack.
Mhm.
Our
My,
wetlands consultant
my-
did say on the sidewalk Saturday that when I happened to be chatting with him about stuff, including vernal pools stuff, that there is some expert in the field who's done this somewhere in Delaware, Maryland, whatever. And he thought it wouldn't be bad if we, the commission, wanted to push the developer in the direction of making that a condition of coming up with a plan. You know, if you gotta come up with a plan, make them do the work, but hey, there are people out there who have some sort of success rate. If these people haven't, they say they're gonna make it work, but it doesn't. But again, not discussed.
Well, we have a person who's operating as our peer reviewer who wrote the book, Vernal Pools of New England. He's a qualified expert. So we're going to rely somewhat on him, but we have no small experience here on this commission, so. Okay,
Mhm.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? We didn't even do a second. Okay.
Brian did second. Brian was second, yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance,
Sure.
and please accept our thanks for all the work you guys do. We're doing really important and good work. So thank you all.
Thanks,
So there-
everybody.
There's no site visit for the next couple weekends anyway.
No.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Be well. Enjoy the evening.
Take care now.